Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Welcome to another episode of Nick Files. To start off with, I know it was about 2 weeks ago that we had our last episode, which I apologize that we weren't able to do it this last part sooner because we had a number of things that were going on these last 2 weeks. But today, we're finally going to be wrapping up the conclusion for the slideshow of the super outbreak. Real quick question. I just noticed this. Lois, how many seconds has it been on your side where it says live? Because I just saw it says like 16
One
seconds.
minute. 1 minute.
Okay, yeah, because for some reason it says here it's been like only 20 seconds for my side. So I just immediately got my undivided attention.
125 with 4 people.
Okay. Yeah, it was really weird. It's saying there's something going on for my side, but as long as it's working for somebody else, that's all that matters. But anyways, we're going to be, like I said, wrapping up the final part of my slideshow based on the super outbreak of 1974. I only got about 14 slides left when it comes to the actual tornadic events, and then right afterwards, we're going to be looking at several photographs that were taken of the aftermath from the destruction, and also the I'm not really sure what other word to use, but the other aftermath of those who went through that the aftermath of those who were affected by the storm, and the inspiration for what meteorology as well as storm prediction would later become for many years in the future. So if that makes sense. But without further ado, here, let me get this up real quick. I always have to go through this fun little thing to do to get the slideshow ready. So once again, Lois, I'm going to leave you in charge with the comments once again.
Yep, that's cool. And I'm just sharing out. Sharing. Dominic.
Hey, what's up, Dom?
Hey, Dom.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw this one that time. Okay, so where exactly we were during the outbreak, we were actually looking at this was during when the outbreak began. Sorry, there was an alarm going off. There was we were at the point, if you remember, Lois, when we were talking about the outbreak that was affecting the southern parts of the country, primarily Alabama, and I'm sure you know this. You remember this too. The last tornado that we actually spoke about from this outbreak was when the towns of Tanner and Harvest in Alabama were struck by not one but 2 tornadoes. If you remember that one correctly?
Yeah. I'll say yeah, because you know what my brain's like. I can't even remember what I did last week.
It's no big deal. Well, what's kind of crazy, I mean, at least to go with the rest of to start off with was, all this talk about these 2 tornadoes that struck Tanner and Harvest. What's actually oh, hey, what's up? What's kind of strange was that even before the second tornado hit the struck of Tanner and Harvest, it turned out that not long after the second Tanner tornado developed, yet another destructive tornado touched down in Tennessee at 7:45 p.m. And this was formed from the same thunderstorm that produced the first Tanner tornado. The tornado, rated an F4, moved northeast from the southeast corner of Lincoln County, gradually intensifying as it crossed into Franklin County. Homes were leveled at Harmony Hill, Pleasant Ridge, northwest of Huntland, and Broadview. The destroyed roughly 46 homes and 90 barns in Franklin County alone. The funnel passed over Timms Ford Lake and did minor damage in Coffee County before dissipating after traveling 36 miles and had a 400-yard wide damage path. 5 people, unfortunately, were killed as a result of this tornado. In Franklin, and to kind of give a little bit more description of who they were, in Franklin County, a woman and her son were actually killed in the basement of a home when a concrete block wall collapsed. 3 people 3 people died in another home. 23 others were injured. Now, this next tornado I got, and Joe, just so you know, I mean, this outbreak that I'm covering several of the tornadoes of this outbreak. However, because of the fact that there were so many during this outbreak, we're not exactly covering every single one, but we are covering the ones that got the most attention, the most documented information I was able to find on this. So, but now this next tornado is actually quite interesting. Further back up, this time in Michigan, close to the Canadian border. In addition to its numerous other records, this outbreak also spawned one of the deadliest tornadoes in Canadian history. In fact, this was the only tornado that actually affected Canada. So, affecting Windsor, Ontario, and surrounding areas in southwestern Essex County, this F3 twister killed 8 people, with one succumbing to his injuries 9 months later, bringing the total death toll to 9 and injured over 20. All of the fatalities occurred inside a curling rink, which was known as the former Windsor Curling Club, just south of the downtown area that was heavily damaged. The tornado is likely the same one that had touched down in Flat Rock, Michigan, at about 7:50 p.m., crossing the border into Canada. Since the storm arrived after dark, it was all the more dangerous. The storm that brought it in was accompanied by lightning and torrential rains as it first touched down on the southeastern edge of the Devonshire Mall, which was undergoing a large additional construction. It severely damaged the steel structure for a new department store, though fortunately no one was on the site at that time. The tornado lifted as it crossed the EC Row Expressway, then touched down again, tearing the roof off the vehicle painting facility at Chrysler Canada's Windsor Assembly Plant. Once again, the facility was vacant, except for 2 security guards, due to retooling that was taking place. The guards fortunately managed to take shelter in a secure room on the ground floor just moments before the tornado struck. The F3 tornado continued across a vacant field directly behind the Windsor Curling Club. It struck the club at exactly 8:09 p.m., sending the large roof of the structure into the air, sending pieces of it into the surrounding neighborhood, and causing the back wall to collapse on the people inside. Those inside were unaware of the severe weather that had been bearing down on them, as they had been playing in a curling bonspiel and had no way of knowing about the tornado warnings that had been issued just 20 minutes earlier. This curling bonspiel was being sponsored by Chrysler Canada, also a victim of the tornado when it tore the roof off its near paint facility. Now, get this. One woman who narrowly escaped death happened to be entering the curling club from the east at the exact moment the tornado struck. The winds caught her. She opened the door and she screamed for help and hung on to the large door handles. A man ran to her help and grabbed her arms as she was horizontal and on the verge of being sucked away. And this is crazy. Her shoes were sucked right off her feet and were never found.
Wow.
Now, much of the city was briefly flooded with approximately 6 inches of water from the rain brought by the storm. Trees in Cherokee Park were defoliated, with nearby houses damaged in a path roughly 300 to 400 meters wide, having the most damage. The tornado then moved northeast in lifts after traveling only 6 miles. Most of the media in Windsor and Essex County area had been following the weather situation closely in the United States via radio and TV stations from Detroit, and had issued public alerts in concert with their American counterparts. The Canadian Weather Service, now Environment Canada, did not issue a tornado warning until 8:15 p.m., more than 5 minutes after the F3 tornado had struck the Windsor Curling Club. Much of the rescue efforts were carried out in the dark. In the aftermath of the tornado, the city of Windsor merged the Windsor Curling Club and Windsor Ladies Curling Club with its Roseland Golf Course, now the Roseland Golf and Curling Club, in the south end of Windsor, moving from their location on Central Avenue near Tecumseh Road. While it was the only tornado reported in Canada from the outbreak, it was the country's deadliest since one that hit back in 1946 that killed 17, closer than 330 feet from the path of this tornado. Now, considering we covered a lot of different tornadoes throughout this outbreak, I'm actually, Wallace, I know like you said, you can't remember from last week, like what you did last week. I actually created a little recap so people can get an idea of where, like, from each tornado that affected from this outbreak, if it makes sense. So here we go.
There was so many tornadoes. If you actually had to do the full, thing, Nick, you would have 10 parts, maybe 20 parts at the push.
That's why.
Well, you know, that happened. When did this outbreak happen?
April 3rd and 4th, 1974.
Okay.
Oh, well, I was a year out. Sorry, Joe.
So then it was like 4 years later, we had this part of the country where you and I are, Nick, had that major blizzard in like 78 too.
79. Yeah.
Or 79. I thought it was.
Oh, bless whose dog's that?
I thought I heard a dog howling.
Yeah, Mama's home.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, I believe it was. I think we also had the blizzard of 78 too. So you're probably right on that as well, Joe.
I feel sorry for Joe because I said 75 and it's 74.
I was alive then, you know, for all of this.
Right.
So I remember watching the TVs, and actually during this outbreak, I think Wisconsin got hit by a couple too, and close where I was living, because I remember taking shelter for hours as a kid.
Well, surprisingly, I mean, from this outbreak is what I'm going to show this little recap with. Wisconsin was never hit. There were some tornadoes that hit central Illinois, but Wisconsin was, so it might have been a different outbreak because Wisconsin was spared from the 74 outbreak.
Well, Wisconsin got lucky then.
Yeah, they did.
Here's Sarah Louise.
Hey, Sarah.
And Rita loves dogs. So do I.
So to kind of give this recap, for starters, by the evening hours of April 3rd, at least 108 tornadoes had already affected 10 states. In Illinois, the outbreak began early that afternoon. 13 tornadoes, which killed 2 people and injured more than 20, occurred in the state between 2:07 and 5 p.m. Indiana's tornadoes ended up becoming the largest tornado outbreak in Indiana history. At least 20 tornadoes caused 49 fatalities, 768 injuries, and property losses to almost 6,000 families. Meteorologists became so tied up that for the first and only time in U.S. history, the entire state is put under a blanket tornado warning. In Michigan, tornadoes struck parts of 6 southeastern counties. One of these tornadoes, as I just mentioned, the aforementioned one, would cross the border into Canada, killing 9 people at a curling club. In Ohio, several devastating tornadoes that struck the state during the afternoon and early evening of April 3rd killed 41, injured 2,000, and damaged 7,000 homes. In Kentucky, at least 26 vicious tornadoes touched down in the worst storm disaster in the state's history. These tornadoes killed 77 people, injured 1,377, and caused damage estimated at $110 million. The tornadoes affected 39 counties within a strip some 150 miles wide, extending from north to south through the central part of the state. Tennessee's tornadoes killed 50 people as they lashed through 19 counties between the early afternoon of April 3rd and into the night. The tornadoes leave an estimated $30 million worth of damage. In North Carolina, the state had two separate periods of severe activity. The first wave struck between 8 and 10 p.m.
Oh, I think I'm going to call them.
No.
Sorry, I heard that. At least 3 tornadoes caused 7 deaths and many injuries in the extreme western counties. In Georgia, 7 tornadoes rampaged over 100 miles, filling in hospitals with the injured. In Mississippi, the only tornado of the outbreak destroyed a home and 30 farm buildings, causing an estimated $150,000 in damage. However, as horrific as it had been for many of those affected by the outbreak, the terror is just beginning for the unsuspecting residents of Guin, Alabama. So,
Nick, guess who's
Yeah.
in the chat?
what's that? Wait,
Pickle
who's in the- Pickle Tom!
He's
What's
shouting
up?
Pickle Nick at you.
So yeah, we covered obviously most of the states, but now we're going to be focusing on yet another one. This is, like I said, this one occurred in Guin, Alabama. Now, in the early evening hours, nobody pays attention to the darkish greenish skies looming overhead. But after nightfall, the threat becomes real. The fast-moving nighttime tornado that devastated the town of Guin was the longest duration F5 tornado recorded in the outbreak and considered to be one of the most intense and violent ever recorded to strike the state of Alabama. It formed around 8:50 p.m. near the Mississippi-Alabama border, north of the town of Vernon, striking the Monterey Trailer Park, resulting in major damage at that location. The tornado then became extremely violent as it crossed the border into Alabama, then approached and entered Guin, with multiple areas of F5 damage noted in and around town. And to make matters worse, nobody can see the approaching tornado because obviously it's nighttime. The only warning is that of a bone-chilling roar. The F5 tornado first struck the Guin mobile home plant as it entered the town, completely obliterating the structure. Nothing was left of the plant but a pile of mangled steel beams, and its foundation was partially pushed clean of debris. Much of Guin was devastated by the tornado, the center of which passed a block north of the US 43, US 278 intersection. The brand new City Hall building was heavily damaged, and the Guin post office and Guin mobile home plant were destroyed. The town's downtown area was also heavily damaged, with many brick businesses and 2 churches completely destroyed. The First Methodist Church was reduced to just the front porch steps and basement walls. In one instance, the bus from the First Baptist Church was blown up the street and deposited at the front door of the Tombigbee Electric Coop office. Trees in downtown were debarked, ground scouring occurred, and vehicles were thrown and mangled as well. Residential areas in Guin suffered total devastation, with many homes swept completely away and scattered across fields, while others were heavily damaged or reduced to rubble, with debris wrapped around trees that were debarked or reduced to the main trunks. According to National Weather Service damage surveyor Bill Herman, the damage in one 6-block area was particularly extreme, and remarked that it just looked like the ground had been swept clean. It was just as much of a total wipeout as you could have. Surveyor J.B. Elliott noted that the destruction was so complete that even some of the foundations were dislodged and in some cases swept away. A total of 23 people were killed and 250 injured in Guin.
I wasn't laughing at you, Nick. I was laughing at Pickle Tom because he sent a load of pickles.
Oh,
And he says, looks like Dom wants to do a golf it tomorrow night if you and Joe are available.
I can't. I got Supernatural talk tomorrow night, unfortunately.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi there. Let's see. Oh, Ryan Wood. Okay.
Yeah.
So, after
that other thing about that, Tom, is I got that retro review from 5 to 7.
oh, that's right. Yeah. Right after To the Grave and Back.
Yeah. Thursdays are my busy days.
Yep. Me too. So, after devastating departing Guin, the tornado caused similar devastation at Yampertown. Shortly after, the National Weather Service office in Birmingham issued a tornado warning for the northwestern quarter of Alabama, as it was apparent that significant damage was being observed. The F5 tornado continued past Guin and struck the small community of Twin, destroying numerous homes, mobile homes, and businesses at that location, though the damage was less intense than that observed in Guin. Crossing into Winston County, the tornado struck the small community of Delmar, destroying additional homes, killing 5 people and injuring 22. Mobile homes in Delmar were obliterated, with their frames wrapped around trees. The Densmore store was completely destroyed, in addition to numerous homes and other structures. Past Delmar, the F5 tornado grew up to a mile wide as it tore through 15 miles of the William B. Bankhead National Forest, crossing into Lawrence County, flattening a huge swath of pine and hardwood timber trees. As you can see from this photo, you have Guin right here, and then you got the path, and look, it's going right into the heart of the National Forest.
Oh, wow.
That shows how big it... No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I can imagine how destroyed that would be after getting smacked with a tornado.
Well, this also shows, too, how wide the damage path was.
Oh, my God.
Now, surveyors noted that timber damage was equally severe at all elevations in this area, with numerous trees snapped both along exposed ridges and in deep gorges. So many trees were snapped in this area that the tornado path was actually visible from satellite. Significant damage continued into Morgan County and the southern portions of the Huntsville community, where damage was severe. The tornado then finally dissipated south of Basham and Decatur just after 10:30 p.m. The same supercell then re-strengthened and produced a new F3 tornado just south of the town of Decatur. The Guin tornado was originally believed by Fujita to have had a 132-mile long path that went all the way from Vernon to the small town of High Top, just a few miles south of the Tennessee state line. However, the 46-mile section of the original path from Decatur to High Top was determined later to be from the F3 tornado. The Guin tornado traveled, as officially documented, traveled over 80 miles from the town of Vernon, Alabama, to just south of the small town of Basham. Along the entire path, 546 buildings were destroyed and 330 were heavily damaged. 191 mobile homes were destroyed and 59 were heavily damaged. 60 small businesses were destroyed or heavily damaged. In total, 28 people were killed and 272 were injured.
I've got a message for you, boys. The golf game would be about 8 or 9 my time, from Tom. He's getting excited because he's just realised my cousin up in... Oh, come on, I'm dyslexic, Tom.
Wow.
PA Charles G. I'm just going to say Charles G because there's no way I'm pronouncing that name. I'm slaughtering that. Follows BBC TV because he liked your video with loads of love hearts. And he says, thanks, cuz.
Wow, that's awesome.
Erie, Pennsylvania. It's quite
Thanks.
a little town.
Oh, now this slide, I forgot to mention this before, Lois. You know, like the one tornado we were talking about from this outbreak that really got the most attention was the one that occurred in Xenia, Ohio. I'm sure you remember that one, if that's correct.
Yep.
So,
Do you know what? I remember that is in Xena, the Princess Warrior. So I remember Xena.
Yeah, well, with Xenia, I mean, I discovered this. I wish I could have had this info when I was covering that part of the slideshow. But at one point, when probably about almost an hour after that tornado struck that town, Xenia, there was actually a second tornado warning that occurred for Xenia, because the fact that there were other tornadoes sighted this day, and this warning lasted for several hours, because the problem was, again, with the weather service they had that time, they didn't know if they couldn't really track if another tornado was truly coming or not. So that's why this next warning lasted for several hours. However, what's up?
It's Tom. See that, Tom? It gets me every time.
No, it's
Xena, the Pickle Princess.
No, it's Xenia.
Thanks, Tom. Pronounced like Erie.
Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
So, well, fortunately, after several hours after the second tornado warning was issued back in Xenia, Ohio, residents who are still taking shelters hours after a second tornado warning was issued continued to hunker down, waiting for the second tornado to strike. They hide and wait in terror, not knowing if they will be able to survive this one. Many of the shelters that they were taking cover in were damaged or destroyed by the first tornado. However, some of the damaged shelters remain standing. Luckily, however, a second tornado never touches down. At 10 p.m., an all clear is issued. The danger is finally over for the residents of Xenia. But for Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and New York, as tornadoes have continued to touch down, terrorizing several more towns and cities.
Now, isn't that strange? Though, can I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But isn't that strange? If I'm not mistaken, isn't the tornado belt like west of us? And this all happened east of us?
So the main area, as they call Tornado Alley, it's usually on the Great Plains. It's pretty much west of the Mississippi River.
Right.
Usually it's Nebraska. It's usually like Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas.
Right.
See that pickle, Tom? He's got it.
This was like an unusual outbreak.
Well, it was, but not. However, there is a secondary area that gets a lot of tornadoes as well. That's actually in the south. They actually call that area, compared to Tornado Alley for the Great Plains, this area is actually known as Dixie Alley. And the states involved in this case are usually Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas. So it is unusual, but now it's become more common. But for other areas of this outbreak that was affecting, especially the eastern part of the country, that was rather unusual, especially to have so many tornadoes like this.
Right.
See that pickle, Tom? He's got me in stitches here. I'm supposed to be serious, Tom. He's put Pickle Naldo. That movie would be better than Sharknado. Not that it's hard to be better than that. Do you know what? I've never watched that film, Tom. Never.
I've seen it. I've seen it. It's ridiculous, but it's so bad it's a good movie. And what's funny is they actually sometimes add actual hurricane footage because I'll just say this. There was stock footage that they were showing of when the waves were coming in before the Sharknado struck. And And I thought, I noticed the footage looked kind of old quality. I think, geez, that looks like older footage. Well, it turned out that footage that they were using, like when waves were coming in, was actually footage from Hurricane Camille from 1969.
Oh shit. Tom says, I bet you wished you could unsee it, Nick.
Actually, no, I don't regret.
You know what I'll be doing, guys, after the show then? I'll be watching Sharknado and just like
geez.
Pickle Nado.
So now in going back with the tornadoes that were hitting Alabama in Huntsville, just a few minutes before the Guin tornado lifted at 10:24 p.m., an enormous new funnel touches down. Huntsville was affected shortly before 11 p.m. by a strong F3 tornado produced by the same thunderstorm that produced the Guin tornado. The tornado touched down near the Tennessee River, north of Hartselle, and about 7 miles southeast of Decatur, just a few miles northeast of the point where the major Guin tornado lifted only 6 minutes earlier and moved northeast toward Huntsville. This tornado moved northeast, crossing through the saddle of Ward Mountain, just southwest of Huntsville. Descending the east slope of the mountain, it suddenly became powerful, smashing through Redstone Arsenal, damaging or destroying numerous buildings at that location. But thanks to early warning, however, from an MP picket line on Rideout Road, now Research Park Boulevard, there were only 3 relatively minor injuries. One of the buildings destroyed was a publication center for the Nuclear Weapons Training School on the Arsenal. It continued into southern Huntsville, where damage was also severe. A modern elementary school and mobile home park was wiped out, and numerous homes were demolished or heavily damaged. Several businesses along South Parkway were demolished or heavily damaged, including a department store and automobile agency. Many homes were badly damaged or destroyed as the tornado passed through residential areas of the city, and a school was destroyed as well. The tornado keeps coming through the heart of town, directly toward Huntsville Hospital. Many businesses were also heavily damaged, and numerous trees and power lines were down throughout the city. The Glenelg trailer park was completely destroyed by the 700-yard wide tornado, and some sources list a fatality occurring at that location. Now what happens next. This was really unusual with this tornado compared to many of the others, but remarkable electrical phenomenon was reported as the tornado passed through Huntsville, with reports of luminous clouds, ball lightning, and multicolored flashes and glowing areas in the sky as the storm moved through the city. However, these aforementioned flashes were more likely power flashes, which are flashes of light caused by arcing electrical discharges from damaged electrical equipment, most often severed power lines, which I'm sure you guys have seen videos like when tornadoes hit power lines, you see the lights. Yeah, that's what they're saying basically. Oh, geez, I wasn't expecting this. Okay, hang on 1 second here. I got a little bit of a technical issue. Give me 1 second here.
I love when your slideshows go like that. It just brings up 2 sentences and that's it.
Well, no, it's because, again, there was...
How many tornadoes overall happened during that time period?
148.
Wow.
Yeah, there was a lot of them.
And it's like within the last 24 hours, we had 27 of them touchdown across 6 states.
That's correct. Yeah. See, the other thing,
I mean, it's getting pretty bad out there.
It really is.
Tornadoes seem like it's becoming a more common thing nowadays.
It is. It really is. Here, hold on 1 second. I'm going to fix this. You're absolutely correct on that. And I really,
right now, there's a hell out of me because my whole house would be demolished just by the slightest gust of wind from a tornado. You know, it doesn't have to hit directly, all it has to do is be out on the highway not too far from here. And yeah, this whole place would be demolished.
I think also, and I honestly truly believe it's because of the work of the climate change and global warming. I mean, we didn't have this 20 years ago or something. So that obviously shows that it's getting worse because of the climate change.
Maybe they're even messing with HAARP.
Maybe. So, and also another note I forgot to give out, Joe, when you were saying about if this was an unusual area, for tornadoes to strike. Although this area called Dixie Alley gets, its own share of tornadoes. In my opinion, the tornadoes of Dixie Alley are probably more dangerous and more deadlier than Tornado Alley is, because in the South, in that part of the country, first of all, it's much more populated than it is out in Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Second, not everybody always takes the warnings as seriously. And to make matters worse, unlike you see in Tornado Alley, a lot of people don't have basements. So it really puts them more at risk. So I think the Dixie Alley tornadoes are worse than the classic Tornado Alley ones are.
Dom says Dom will do what Dom wants, Tommy. What I was going to say was the thing that amazes me about such an outbreak and over about 147 tornadoes is
48.
the amount of people. Well, 148. Split here. Come on, 147, 48. Anyway, the amount of lives that were lost, I would have expected a far greater number than it actually was.
Yeah.
Especially back then, because our tornado warnings back then, aren't like they are today. I mean, look how sophisticated the radar is today. They can spot the rotation.
Yeah, that's what we showed in the early part of the
slide. 70s, they couldn't spot that rotation on radar. It wasn't very, they had to rely on people,
Definitely.
And CB radios, from the cops. There's CB radios like, hey, I just spotted a funnel cloud here out on highway such and such, 3 miles out of it. That's how your tornado warnings were back then.
That's correct. Yeah, we talked about that on the early part of the slideshow about how radars were in those days, where they looked like big green blobs on the screen. But yeah, it's amazing. And not only did they have that, they also had teletype machines, which they would use.
Yeah. I actually took a tour 3 or 4 times in the 70s when I was a kid of what was called in Madison back in the day, Weather Central.
Yep.
Okay. And so I went, my classes went there like 3 times during my middle school years. So, and I've always been fascinated about the weather.
It's fascinating stuff.
I can probably predict our weather here better than the people that do it for a living.
Right. Well, and that's going to be something I'm going to be. This is the reason why I want to try to make it the closing part, because I do have something involving the excuse me, the weather radar and the predictions that followed afterwards. I'll show that in just a few minutes, but I think you guys will find this really fascinating. But you were going to say something, Lois?
Yep. Holly says, in Florida, we don't fear the hurricane. We fear the twisters.
Yeah. Because with hurricanes, you can at least, you can at least evacuate and escape before it hits. You can prepare. You can prepare for them. With tornadoes, though, it's a different story.
Damage pass, because you can predict the damage path of the hurricanes and tidal waves and stuff, because their path of destruction is pretty predictable.
Right.
A tornado's path of production, destruction is not very predictable, because the thing can just, pop back into the sky, and it was going like northeast or north to south. And the next thing you know, it drops back down and it's going south to west.
That's what happened with some of these tornadoes.
It's going different directions. And you can't predict that.
No, you can't. Even still, we still haven't found a way of how to really predict them, even with our monitor.
They made Bill Paxton look like a superhero in that Twister movie.
Yeah.
Being able to.
That was a brilliant movie.
Yeah, but you notice the way he was able to predict the twisters and the directions they were going.
Yeah.
You can't really do that in real life because they are unpredictable forces of nature.
They are.
Oh, hello, Gary. Gary Fields is on.
Oh, hey,
He's
Gary.
watching.
Been a while.
Holly says hurricanes parties every time it blows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the hurricane parties. Jeez, yeah. So, continuing on about this one that hit Huntsville, it weakened a bit and may, guess what? Just like what you said, Joe, this tornado, it weakened a bit and may have very briefly lifted as it approached Monte Sano Mountain. However, it quickly lowered back to the ground and became very powerful as it reached the top of the mountain, starting down the eastern slope. The F3 tornado then reached Monte Sano Mountain, which has an elevation of 1,640 feet, where additional homes were torn apart.
Wow.
The National Weather Service office at Huntsville Jetplex was briefly closed and abandoned due to the severe weather conditions. Ryland on US 72 was nearly wiped out as it continued this path. Continuing over the rough terrain of northwestern Jackson County, the tornado eventually dissipated near Jacobs Mountain in the Painted Rock Valley area at 11:15 p.m. after being on the ground for 51 minutes and traveling a 46-mile path. This F3 tornado produced heavy damage in the south end of the city, eventually damaging or destroying nearly 1,000 structures. 2 people were killed and at least 7 others were injured. In all, 10 tornadoes tear through Alabama on April 3rd, causing more than $50 million in damages. The final death toll is 86, with nearly 1,000 injured. Now
that's
$50
sorry.
million worth of damage in the 70s.
Yeah.
God, think what that just to get comparable $50 million in damage in the 70s is not like $50 million of damage today by all means. That destruction would be into the hundreds or thousands of millions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe $1 billion or more, comparable, because that's just, you don't think about that when you're reading this. Oh, it did $50 million. Well, that's not too bad. You think about it. But in reality, it's more like $1 billion worth of damage in today's terms.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you got to go, oh my God. Now that, now you think about it in the proper notion and going, holy shit, the destruction that it took. Yeah,
it was pretty big, obviously.
I mean, the damage it did was a mass.
Absolutely.
It destroyed towns, families, business.
And as we get to the end of this outbreak segment, I will show the full aftermath of like the death toll, the dollar damage or whatever, all combined. So we are getting close to that part of the slideshow. So it'll be interesting for what I was able to find with everything combined. Lois, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, again, it just proves the final death toll is 86 with nearly 1,000 injured. and you'd expect with something like that it would be a lot more. So it just shows you that, never underestimate a tornado.
Definitely. So now one of the last tornadoes to strike Tennessee, because these other tornadoes continued striking throughout the night and early morning of April 4th. Now, one of the last tornadoes to strike Tennessee struck southeast of Sullivan. It developed shortly after 3 a.m. on April 4th and quickly grows into a mile-wide wedge. It then began its late-night course in the Tennessee countryside. But surprisingly, this tornado was rated only an F0, as it tracked primarily over rural areas and few structures were hit. The F0 tornado then caused an 18-mile path crossing into Virginia. The tornado then abruptly dissipated near Bristol. 16 minutes after the tornado had touched down in Sullivan, tornadic activity also started firing up further up north in West Virginia. At 3:16 a.m., another tornado, an F3, touched down just to the west of Mullinsville and traveled a relatively short path. The town of Mullinsville, however, was directly in its path. At least 15 homes in Mullinsville were destroyed, and several dozen homes suffered major damage. The mountainside near Mullinsville had the appearance of being clear-cut because of the numerous trees destroyed. One home was reported to have been thrown into the Guyandotte River. Many trees were toppled in Twin Falls State Park. Several were reported to have fallen on cars and rangers' homes within the state park. The tornado then veered north and lifted after traveling 4 miles. 9 people were injured, but fortunately, though, it's actually kind of surprising what these late-night tornadoes, cause, because surprisingly, in the case of this one, with the one that hit Mullinsville and also the one that struck Sullivan, this happened late at night at a time when most people were, 3 a.m., when most people are sleeping. And it's amazing to me that even for these people in this part of the country, that no one was killed by either one of these tornadoes. Again, they would have had no warning about this.
Exactly. Holly says,
Go ahead.
No, honey, on you go.
It's surprising, though, that the one that had that mile-wide wedge,
Yeah.
when it touched down, and only because it didn't destroy anything, it was classified as an F0.
Yeah, because it's always the damage.
That scale, I think that scale's somehow they got to figure out how to adjust that a little bit, because that one could have, if it just touched down in a rural area, that means, it did mostly damage to cornfields, forests, whatever. No homes, no people, no cars, no buildings. So it's rated an F0.
There's also been
a lot worse if it would have, say, touched down right in the heart. That same tornado touched down right in the heart of a city. It could have done it.
That's
destructive damage.
That's what happened. Well, that's what happened in the town of Guin. That tornado was a mile wide. And that went right through the heart of Guin. The one that hit Guin, Alabama. So, but there's been talks for many years when it comes to the Fujita scale that it has been suggested that, like, as crazy as it seems for a large tornado like that to be just rated an F0 on the scale, it's been suggested that tornadoes should actually be raced by their appearance rather than their actual damage. However, this would be very difficult to do for many reasons. And I even still remember hearing this from a documentary. Perhaps a tornado should have 2 ratings.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, you see.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, they possibly, have 2 ratings, one for the actual damage and a second based on appearance.
Yeah. Based on, the possible destruction it could do.
Yep.
Based on its size.
Absolutely. So now 4 minutes after the Mullinsville tornado began at 3:20 p.m. a.m. Excuse me. Yet another massive twister touchdown began moving northeast in the West Virginia countryside. The tornado in F3 destroyed homes while passing south of Beckley. A trailer was overturned at Eberly Hill, which resulted in one hospitalization. The F3 tornado continued moving northeast, heading toward Coal City. Many buildings were damaged in Coal City, including Coal City Hardware. Many other structures were destroyed. First calls about damage began to come in around 5 a.m. Around 20 homes received extensive damage, and a half dozen homes were completely destroyed. One local summed up the damage in Shady Spring. I was in World War II and saw ruins from bombing, but I never thought I'd see ruins like that, almost like that here. Significant roof damage occurred to a new addition at Honey and the Rock Motel in Beckley. This new addition had 40 new units, and all 40 were occupied at the time. One injury was reported at the motel, surprisingly. Witness accounts of a 100-foot wide line of destruction extending over the hill. 2 mobile homes were destroyed, and several others severely damaged at the in-town motor court behind the motel. The damage occurred around 3:30 a.m. The tornado then dissipated following its 9-mile rampage. Multiple injuries were reported, but fortunately, no deaths occurred once again. 12 people, in all, 12 people were injured as a result of this tornado. One man was injured in Coal City when his mobile home was overturned by the F3 tornado. One couple was severely banged up when the tornado picked the trailer they were living in up off its blocks, twisted it around the air, and set it down. It's just crazy what tornadoes can do. On the impact, it just fell apart, and we fell in the debris, according to the husband of this couple. Now, less than 20 minutes after the Shady Spring tornado dissipated at 4 a.m., another tornado touched down near Hayters Gap, Virginia, and continued northeast towards Saltville. The tornado, again rated an F3, then impacted Washington County. Although the tornado primarily tracked through rural and mountainous areas, damage occurred from the tornado around 5 a.m. Residents who were asleep were completely unaware of the danger that was on the way and had no way of knowing. Multiple homes, among them 4 mobile homes, 2 frame homes, and as many as 40 homes damaged. 3 barns were also destroyed. After traveling 8 miles, the tornado lifted in Smith County. One man was killed when his mobile home was tossed 150 yards, which landed on its roof. At least 4 others were injured. I think I only got about 2 more slides, I believe.
Right, 2 seconds, and that'll give you a wee break, a wee drink of water. Holly says, when the hurricane comes, we prepare with the normal things, but also loads of alcohol. Trust you, Holly. Holly says, when Andrew came through Florida, I was on a military vessel off the coast of Cape Fear, SC. That was rough.
That was, Hurricane Andrew. That was the hit back in 1992. And that was, at that time, that was the costliest hurricane in American history until Hurricane Katrina, 12 years later.
That's what Holly said. Never stay in a trailer during a storm.
Never. It's never a good. There's always this question saying, is there any possibility you could ride out a tornado or any type of storm in a mobile home? And I was like, no. The answer is there is no safe spot because mobile homes, they're not fully put into the ground like normal residential homes are. So
no, they're not.
Yeah. So if you get a warning, what's that?
I live in one.
Yeah, so I think you probably know.
And mine was built in the 70s. Actually, this is, I think, 76. This one is.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's almost 50 years old.
So, I don't I don't usually fear tornadoes, but I do, fear that weather now because this place, like I said, one gets anywhere close to this place, it don't even have to touch down on the trailer court itself. Just the winds might flatten this one.
So I guess you kind of know the drill that if a tornado affected your area, I mean, they always say you must leave immediately and find a nearby ditch to take cover.
Hell, I'm going to go hide under the nearest big ass highway bridge in my truck. I mean, with that thing, that's not your ordinary truck either. That truck is like structurally reinforced. But no, we actually got a tornado shelter down here in the there's a building here that's got a tornado shelter in it.
Well, that's good.
Oh,
that's good.
That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Gary Field says,
It's
remember
like
us.
center. So we just run right to that place.
Okay. Remember us having 100-mile-per-hour winds one winter?
Do you know, I can remember that because I can remember I was young and it was I looked out the window and the wheelie bins just went shoom. And I just wanted to go out and play in it, but I was told no. The horses at Everglades, horses, we thought when Hurricane Andrew hit it would slow down, but it hit the water and it sped up.
The water's off the Gulf. I mean, that's like fuel to the fire to it. It acts as a fuel source for hurricanes, so it especially hits that part of the Atlantic. So, like I said, I believe I only got 2 more slides left of the actually tornadic activity. So, a half hour after the Sullivan tornado touched down back in West Virginia at 4:30 p.m., another destructive and potentially deadly.
4:30 a.m.
I said a.m.
You said p.m.
Oh, I did. Okay, I don't know why I keep doing that. At 4:30 a.m., another destructive and potentially deadly twister touches down in the early morning hours. The tornado, once again, yet another F3, touches west of Bragg and begins a 32-mile path. It then struck the nearby town of Meadowbridge. Meadowbridge received considerable damage and numerous injuries were reported, as many were still asleep from the tornado that moved through the community between 4:30 and 5 a.m. Frame homes sustained near F4 damage. More than 50 homes were completely destroyed. The driver's education garage at the high school and the roof of the school's gymnasium both were blown off. Damage estimates were between $300,000 and $500,000. The F3 tornado then continued moving northeast before dissipating just to the west of Trout. One person was killed and 11 others were injured. And I'm sorry to say, by the way, the one death was that of a 3-year-old girl when her family's mobile home was blown 75 yards from its original location onto railroad tracks. So definitely tragic. Now, while the Meadowbridge tornado was ripping the town apart, again, back in Virginia, the final major tornado of the outbreak begins its journey in the Virginia countryside, as evidence from the storm path. The initial touchdown was near the Lynchburg Turnpike between West Side Boulevard and Electric Road at 5 a.m., the approximate starting location for what became known as the Roanoke tornado. A camping trailer and truck trailer were damaged and turned over near Lynchburg Turnpike, along with extensive tree damage. The tornado in F2, and get this, was once again initially up to a mile wide as it entered the city of Salem, but narrower near the end of the path. Ferncliff apartments were badly damaged, and several of the apartments were completely unroofed. Another apartment complex was badly damaged just south of the Roanoke Airport. A 70 mile per hour wind was measured at the Roanoke Airport at 6:05 a.m. Multiple homes had portions of the roofs peeled off, and several had their roofs completely removed by the F2 tornado. Preston Park School was completely unroofed, and numerous houses were damaged. Large trees were wrung off. Damage estimates were $500,000 to $700,000 in 1974 terms. 2 apartment buildings were severely damaged, with 30 homes sustaining roof damage. Shortly after leaving Roanoke, the tornado dissipated, ending its 6-mile path. Fortunately, no one was killed, but at least 6 people were injured. Now, to kind of put this to an end for the activity, in total, there were 18 hours of nearly continuous tornado activity that finally ended in Caldwell County, North Carolina, at about 7 a.m. on April 4th. So, to kind of put it all together, within the space of 5 hours, 7 lethal F5 tornadoes have struck the Midwest and Southeast United States. Their paths shatter. I mean, just think about it. 7 lethal of them. And also that there were 23 F4s also. I mean, 30 was...
F5's the highest on that scale.
It was bad.
It's
I mean...
most damaging.
It is. And when you think about so many of them, 30 were ranked 4 or 5. No other outbreak, in any part of no other outbreak in the history of this country or even the world has ever come close to that.
That's why I find it dead ironic, because I think there was mostly F4 and 5, and with 4 and 5s, they caused the most damage and kill the most people. But yet in that outbreak, it just mystifies me. I'm mystified with the full thing. It's been a really, really interesting presentation, and I'm so glad to be part of it.
Well, here's what also had inspired some other things. I mean, their paths shatter common beliefs about the behavior of tornadoes. Scientists and the public learned tornadoes can cross mountains and valleys. Joe, you weren't here for the first part, but here's an example. The tornado that hit Monticello, Indiana, had contradicted a long-time myth that a tornado would not follow terrain into steep valleys, as while hitting Monticello, it descended a 60-foot hill near the Tippecanoe River and heavily damaged several homes immediately afterwards. They could also, and if that's not enough, they could also traverse rivers. Another example, Lois, I'm sure you remember this one.
Yep.
The tornado that hit Brandenburg, Kentucky, crossed over the Ohio River into Indiana. Now, after the F4 tornado that roared through Louisville, it dispelled another myth, showing the public and scientists that tornadoes can strike metropolitan cities in urban areas. So, we now know that when it comes to tornadoes, we were always under the constant belief that they couldn't hit major cities like Louisville or Chicago or Milwaukee or whatever the case is. But we pretty much now know that tornadoes can strike pretty much just about anywhere if the conditions are right for them.
Yeah,
yep.
That's all it has to be, is the weather conditions have to be right. Doesn't matter if you've got buildings, you've got a city there, or if it's, a desert. They can strike anywhere at any time. But
I think
that whole thing where they can go across the terrain, that's the part. When I was younger, okay, we were all told that, if you're outside and you see a tornado coming, go to the nearest ditch.
Yep.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have saved our lives if, now if knowing, that they can go right through that. You would have been sucked right up into that suck zone and thrown out with your broken body, God knows where.
Definitely. Well, and if you think about it too, and see, this is why I wish Rosie was part of this, because I'm sure she would probably know this. But see, when it comes to tornadoes, though we usually associate tornadoes with rural areas, open country sites, farmlands, and fields, like I just said, tornadoes can have do and will hit downtown urban populated areas and cities. In fact, considering all these tornadoes that have struck, especially Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City, I don't know if you guys know this, but in fact, parts of Oklahoma City have been hit more than 87 times since 1890.
Oh,
Yeah, since 1890. In spite of that, however, though, it should still be noted, though. I mean, in spite of that, however, though, still, even as of today, more than 95% of North America is rural. So chances are a tornado will most likely hit a less populated area. Like, put it in another way. I remember this from a documentary. If you were to, because, you know, it's not only just the United States that gets them, Canada and Mexico get them as well. If you were basically to, like, throw a dart at a map of North America, most likely where that dart is going to land is most likely going to be a rural area. Same thing basically with tornadoes. They're not common for big cities, but they still can strike them again when, like you said, Joe, when the conditions are right for them.
Yeah.
do you know what the
You got to treat them with the respect that they deserve. I mean, tornadoes deserve our respect. You know,
They do.
Don't sit there. They tell you to take cover, man, take cover. You know, these things can be so unpredictable. You say, oh, it can never happen to me. And the minute you say that, it's going to happen.
Yep. Now, what was that, Lois?
I would say just the same as Joe. Really, I mean, what I've learned with tornadoes is tornadoes. No, just tornadoes, volcanoes, tsunamis, earthquakes,
Yeah.
everything natural disaster. Never underestimate your opponent because
Or,
things can change, directions can change. You know, that for example, tornadoes might look like they're going to the left or the right, or even
or
when
not moving at all. It
moving
looks like
at
they're
all.
being stationary. Yeah.
And that's when they're stationary. That is the most dangerous time because it's heading towards you.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just sitting there and it's just growing and growing, while not realizing it's coming, directly at you.
That's why it drives me nuts when you see people on YouTube with their phones, out. It's like, hello,
Yeah, like,
look
the hell
what's
you doing?
coming. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but
Now-
if it wasn't for some of those storm chasers, we wouldn't have these, alert warnings, these warning alert systems in place. You know,
You're
that Twister proves it, because that's what they were doing.
Yep.
Trying to develop a better warning system.
That's
You know,
Dorothy.
and that's all they can do because Mother Nature is so unpredictable that you got to be on your toes.
That's why they always say don't mess with Mother. That's why they always say don't mess with Mother Nature. She's the boss.
Oh.
That's one person you can't mess with.
No,
No.
I just wish she'd get back on her bipolar meds and make up her mind.
Yeah. Well,
Rain, heat. Which one is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Now, here's one other thing that, Joe, you probably have heard of this, because they used to do this when it came to tornadoes back in the day, but this is the one event that changed it all. The 1974 super outbreak also ends a long-held belief about opening windows when a tornado approaches. So, for those that don't know, I decided to put it in. People thought that it was better to open windows because of trapped higher pressure that was inside the house. And when the tornado's low pressure went over, houses exploded outward. So, but as the outbreak showed all too well, homes are destroyed not by a change in air pressure, but by high winds. Instead of opening windows, people should immediately seek shelter. Now I forgot because I thought this was when it was going to sum it all up. This is it. Okay, so this is where we sum everything up. The next day, April 4th, 1974, Americans and Canadians wake up to news of one of the worst tornado disasters in U.S. and Canadian history. In just 24 hours, an outbreak of 148 tornadoes in 13 states and one Canadian province had carved a path of destruction totaling more than 2,500 miles. 10,000 homes were lost. More than 330 people were killed. About 5,500 people injured. Damage estimates combined at more than $843 million, which is $5.30 billion in today's dollars.
See, I wasn't too off. I said it'd be more like billions of dollars today.
You're absolutely correct on that. Now, this was a pretty much unprecedented event for the public and the meteorologists who had to deal with it. As tornado outbreaks go, this is as bad as they get. The process of rebuilding is daunting, which I'm going to be showing damage pictures in just a second. You know, just imagine just the amount of destruction that you guys are about to see. It was a major question that was going on, saying, you know, how long, you know, how long is this going to, it was really that question of how are we going to get back to where we were and how long is this going to take? So for the forecasting community and tornado scientists, the aftermath of the outbreak is painful. Better radar could have saved lives. You know, basically, if they had a better radar in those days, they probably would have done a better job.
Well, yeah. Look at, we've got a pretty good warning system right now. Still, it's not enough in some cases, but still, it's a better warning system than we had back in the 70s. That radar can really predict. They're sitting there watching, and you're watching it with them. You can actually see the wind rotation, and they can pick apart today's radar because it's got, you know, all those different color hues. Mm-hmm. Back then, like you said earlier, it was just green
blobs. Yep.
Yeah. It wasn't much of a radar system at all.
Definitely.
You know, what do they call it? They call it Doppler radar or whatever.
Radar. Yeah. Well, that's basically. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's actually going to be something I'm going to be mentioning real soon. I'll show that to you guys in just a few minutes. So, in fact, this outbreak will change that and will trigger a revolution in forecasting. But right before I show that, now it's time to show the aftermath. Let's start off.
I'll quickly read these comments. Holly says they hit south of Tampa Bay all the time. The cities are quite large. She also said when the Waffle House closes, we start to worry, Lil.
So now for this next segment, I'm going to be showing you guys. I'm not really going to be doing much speaking because all I got is photographs, and I got a lot of them. My intention was to make this the ultimate slideshow for the super outbreak, and I actually added as many pictures as I could in the aftermath. So the first one we're going to look at is Brandenburg in Kentucky. Brandenburg. It looked like this in the morning. I also got some hang on a second. I had film footage, but apparently it's not.
I like pictures of tornadoes better. I missed all those.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I do have something that involves an image of a tornado, which, again, I'll show shortly. Give me 1 second here. There's I'm not sure what happened. Bear with me for just a second here.
When I was a kid, my dad and I, after a good storm, you know, high winds, tornadoes, whatever, man, we'd get in the car and we go to the area just to look at the damage. You know, the destructions that the tornadoes did or the storm did. I'll never forget the first time a tornado ever hit Belleville, Wisconsin. Okay, it was the first time in Belleville's history ever to have a tornado. The destruction it did.
Wasn't it Barneville?
Yeah, it was Barneville. I'm sorry. There's so many towns with B's.
Yeah.
They seem alike. You get them confused. But yeah, we're driving through, and all these houses are destroyed around this one house that remained untouched. It was built inside of a hill, so you only saw the front of the house.
The hell?
So because this house, all the buildings that were on the property, like the barns and the silo and all of that stuff, and trucks that were on the property. They were all upside down, destroyed. But that house that was built inside the middle of the hill was totally untouched. Maybe a broken window or two, but that was it.
Sorry, I froze up on I froze up on my side. I don't know what happened here. Let's try. I'm having a shoot. What's going on here?
You got
sorry.
bad
There's a
connection.
yeah.
Oh, honey.
Well, it's not only that. There's some, I don't know what happened, but as I was about to go back to the slideshow, the whole thing turned white. So I'm just waiting for it to. First of all, I saved it very quickly. I'm just waiting for it to load. Bear with me again for another minute, guys. I'm not sure what's going on here. Ah, shoot.
I think
Go.
I took
Sing it, Nick.
in my lifetime. I think I only ended up really, honestly taking cover 3 times when there were tornadoes
Wow.
in the area. The other
Right.
times they were close, I was outside watching. Those 3 times I was a kid and I had no choice.
Right.
You know,
Well,
when these major storms come around nowadays, I either end up falling asleep because they put me to sleep, or I'm outside watching it. You know,
oh wow. Well, I mean, and that's what I do too. Sometimes that's what I do too. Sometimes I film a lot of these storms that come our way.
well,
That's why I'm so jealous of you guys, because I'm like, you live in America and you get to see all this. The
When-
only bit of wind I see is outside, but no, it's
like
Guilful.
2000 something, one hit Sun Prairie in like 2002 or 3 maybe, and it was, God, maybe a half a mile from where I was. Everybody was in the garage because we had underground parking, so everybody was in the garage in the apartment building. Me, I was
Okay.
outside on top of the hill watching for it to come my way.
oh shit, Joe.
Okay,
You're
now
brave.
I got it work. All right, now I got it
Got it
working.
working?
Okay, so yeah, it was a video I was going to show, like actual film footage. So
Cool. Let's see it.
hang on.
Can't wait.
Oh, come on. Here, you know what? It's not cooperating. So what I'm just going to do instead is I'm just going to play it from the this video, just from this video. Gosh. Okay, hang on. So the way I'm going to do it is we'll do it this
Josie,
way.
Not any pictures yet.
Okay. Let me know if you guys could hear this because there is sound in this.
Yeah.
This is just a minute and a half.
No sound.
Okay, hold on. Because I know there's that other way to share something so the sound can get through. Okay. Okay, here we go. Oh, also share sound system audio. Thank you. Okay.
I can see
Now-
myself.
The United States was assaulted by 148 tornadoes, several
Is
of
it
which
better now?
savaged Kentuckiana.
Yeah.
Brandenburg took a direct hit about 3 in the afternoon. The town had very little warning and was devastated. 31 people were killed. The destruction in Brandenburg alerted Louisvillians the twister was on its way. At 4 p.m., the funnel cloud was spotted in southwest Jefferson County.
That's not
By
actual footage of a
4:25,
tornado.
A tornado
Of,
was ripping
this
through
event.
the fairgrounds and slicing through Louisville, the Highlands, Cherokee Park, Crescent Hill, Rolling Fields, Northfield, Newmarket. Gone with the wind. Those who lived through it were lucky to have escaped with their lives.
We looked out the window and it looked terrible. So we went down and we got under the
Video is definitely from the 70s. Look at that drill outfit.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say the hair, but
That too.
known this area all my life, ever since I was a kid. And it had to be one of the most beautiful areas of Jefferson County. It's a horrible sight to see.
2 were killed and 228 injured in Jefferson County on that Wednesday afternoon in 1974. Tragic and painful for those who survived. A reminder, 29 years later, tornado preparedness is essential in Kentuckiana in any tornado season. I'm meteorologist Bob Sumner.
Yeah, the actual clip itself is more recent, but they were presenting a lot of this news footage of what was originally filmed. So I thought I'd show this. Now we're going to get to the pictures. So now,
You know, that whole thing also reminds me that during that time, I mean, we as a country learned a valuable lesson.
yeah,
So they immediately said, okay, a better radar could have saved a lot of lives, blah, blah, blah. So they got to working on that. They started putting, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts that they put in better building codes,
right.
you know, or stricter building codes so that tornadoes can't destroy some buildings or some structures as easy as they did then.
Right.
You know, because rebuilding isn't always going to be rebuilding. Rebuilding is going to be rebuilding and reinventing because, all right, how can we prevent this in the future? Okay, let's reinforce the cement with steel rods or whatever, you know.
Exactly. Well, you're going to say something, Lois?
Oh, you don't want to be near one. They're scary as hell. I really would love to be near one, Holly. I've always said there's 3 things I want to come to America for. First one's a paranormal investigation. Second one is to see friends. And the third one is to tornado chase. 3 things I want to do in America.
Well, the third one could definitely kill you.
Yeah.
Uh,
So here, again, I added as many pictures as I can. So here's now the town of Brandenburg, what it looked like after the F5 tornado went through. Check this out.
Jesus. Do you know, for an F5, I was expecting just a bit more damage.
Oh,
Like,
I got more
total
pictures.
destruction.
Oh, yeah, but you're not going to see that all in one picture. But
No.
it's a shame such classic cars from an era
Yeah.
when cars were built
Yeah.
to last, to see them destroyed there.
Just crumbled up like a beer can.
Hey, it's that 70s show. It's the Vista Cruiser.
Yeah,
In the one picture.
right. And look at this
the
one. Right?
panel station wagon, and then the one next to it looks like a Nova.
And look at this one right here. I don't know what that is. But just seeing this, whatever this thing lodged into a tree. It's amazing. What tornado? Yeah.
Probably a hunk of metal from a car or something,
It does look like that.
or maybe a
I'm
hunk of roof side, the metal roof pieces. You know.
So we got more pictures.
Surprised the water tower is still standing up there.
Yeah,
You
it
notice
is.
that in all the
Yeah.
the other picture, the water tower was still standing.
Right.
Everything else pretty much destroyed around it, but the water tower.
Just the water tower. And look at this again. Whatever this thing lodged into another tree. It's amazing what the power, what winds can really
Oh,
do.
that's like an old fence pole,
Yeah,
like a farmer's fence, you know, for like a farmer's fence to keep the cattle in.
that's
You know,
right.
it's just a simple pole with the latches or the edges on it.
Okay, next. Oh, look at that. Looked like it was part of a trailer. It's another piece of debris lodged into trees.
Holy God.
Tornadoes can certainly deliver some of the strangest behavior.
See, this is why I feel sorry for you guys over in America, because
Damn it! Call my house, speak English. I just hung up the phone and I could have gotten real rude. Yeah, look at that. And the force it takes to put those into the trees
Yeah.
Yeah.
is just amazing.
Okay. Next. Oh wait. I accidentally added one of. Oh, I realized I added one of the same pictures, but I'll get that changed later. Now here's a good bird's eye view of the city of Brandenburg. It's gone, completely gone.
Yeah, it looks
It's
like
all, it's like a bulldozer. It's just
and
got,
it looks like the destruction in that second picture on the top. It looks like some of the destruction blocked off that road road there.
Yeah, it really does truly look like a war zone.
And it looks like a bomb went off right in the center. Boom.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
It's just devastating what they can do.
And this was a historic town. A lot of these buildings that were existing in Brandenburg were over 100 years old. So 100 years of history gone.
Just ripped out. Yeah, that's why it's so important for people to preserve that history, because you never know when it might be destroyed. You know, don't just tear down those buildings. You know,
Yeah.
I really got to give props to the paranormal investigators that I've met that have bought these buildings and saved them from destruction.
Mhm.
Yep.
Just to preserve the history, you know.
Now, as far as Brandenburg, I mean, Brandenburg still does exist. It's still a town, though, of course. It's not what it used to be back before 1974. It's a much smaller town now. So, unfortunately, Brandenburg, although it has been rebuilt, for the most part, it's never true, at least as far as I know, it's never truly recovered from this tornado.
Well,
this was one of the first F5s. And this was one of the first F5s that hit that day.
Tell me that third picture on the bottom from the left. Yeah, that one. That looks like it possibly was a fire department. There's two fire trucks there.
Yeah, it's this fire department right here. There's the water tower again in the background of this picture.
But it also looks like, you know, even though it looks like it might be standing, if you look real close, it looks like part of the roof is missing on the one side there.
Yeah, it is right here on the side.
You don't see those overhangs, you know.
Yep. Here, look at this. Now I even found some pictures of those who were grieving over the destruction. This one right here on the top right.
Yeah. So sad. That's what I feel sorry for you guys, is when you get tornadoes and then you have got to constantly rebuild and rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. I mean, how many more times do you have to rebuild before your mental health just goes into despair?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have to rebuild from a natural disaster than to rebuild after a woman destroys your life.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose when you look at it in that sense, I would rather go with a natural disaster.
Look at these cars wrapped up in the trees right here in this wooded area.
Wow. Paul says we won't leave.
There's one here in Wisconsin that they left. Is it a pickup truck? I think it's a pickup truck. They left it in a tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's up and since then, obviously, the tree's kind of grown around it and stuff, but it's high up in a tree. And that's where the guy came out in the morning and found his truck.
Wow.
And it's been there ever since then. So it's in that, you know, Weird Wisconsin book of mine. It says Weird Wisconsin. It's big hardback.
I've seen that book, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they got it's a pickup truck up in a tree.
Wow.
I'm not sure exactly what town it is because I haven't been there yet.
Well, I added the same picture again. I'll get this fixed later.
My first trip is over to the pickle place to take that picture of the pickle.
Yeah, see, I guess I accidentally added some of the same pictures again. So like I said, I'll get this fixed. But see, and you have to remember these pictures you're seeing, it looks like fully rural areas. And indeed, while some areas are, again, this is where part of the town existed.
Look at that. That
Which
one
one?
on the bottom, first one on the bottom there.
Yeah.
That looks to be what used to be a tractor.
Yep.
But look how bent, and twisted it is.
It's
I
crumbled
mean, it
up
just
again.
didn't get crushed. It got twisted, bent sideways, and that looks like it used to actually be a tractor that plowed fields.
It's just like nothing but a pile of deformed
Metal.
metal and tires. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm looking at these pictures in awe.
Now,
Look
Yeah.
at the state.
there you got
This
power
thing-
lines down.
Power line. So, and yeah, this house. The house is still standing, but the roof is completely gone.
Right.
And look, and even on the porch, you can even see, even under a black and white picture, that the porch looks completely fine, like it's completely untouched. It doesn't even look like the windows or door or even the pillars are even damaged. But the roof is completely gone.
I hate to see the inside because the water damage would be unbelievable too.
Yeah.
But I mean, imagine that house still standing. That just had me in awe.
Right. Look at this, and here's another similar one. I mean, this one's more badly damaged, but this building here is still standing. But again, roof is gone, but this one still took quite a beating. Okay, so I think we're getting close to the end of Brandenburg's pictures. Like I said, I added a lot of them.
I can
Somebody-
tell you've been working well, Nikki.
That looks like that one up there under the car, and it actually looks more like a cab, though. I bet somebody's like took a cab from wherever they were in safety to come and see if their house was still standing or not.
I think that's a police car, actually.
Holly says low during hurricane season you would die from the heat. I probably would, because I'm
Wow.
ginger.
Holy cow. Look at that. Look at the school bus.
I right on its side too.
Hopefully.
It's
You were going to say something?
I can't even remember now. Sorry, honey. On you go.
Okay, hang on.
Can I
there's
just say you've done so well in this slide. Honestly, this full presentation is. I know it's drawing the life right out you, but you've done so well, Nick. I've got to compliment you big time. Fair play to you,
appreciate
young
that.
man.
Thank you. So we're done with the Brandenburg ones. Now we're going to get to the other ones. This is the only image I found of this one. This one's in Boone County, Indiana. This is where the first tornado of the outbreak that struck at 9:30 in the morning occurred. You can't
Was that from your other pick earlier on when it was the forest and it was going up the way?
No, this was the first tornado of the day. This happened at 9:30 in the morning. You can't
Right.
really see too much, but you can see some ground markings here. So it didn't really, even though it was though the tornado was rated an F2, it didn't really hit too many structures, but this looked like this was the main impacted area. Okay, so next up, Fountain Town, and there's film footage for this one. This I know has sound to it. I'm going to change the share screen again so you guys can get the sound quality. And it's real quick too. It's not that long of footage. It's just a minute long.
Guard, along with state, county, and local police, civil defense, and volunteer units, worked throughout the night and today for further victims of the deadly series of tornadoes.
The audio's a bit.
One of the
Yeah, I was going to say you might have to turn up the volume a little bit to hear it.
Yeah.
that raked across. One of the first hit was Fountain Town, Indiana, southeast of Indianapolis. It collapsed. Dozens of homes were damaged, severely destroyed. It crossed country toward the northeast, leaving a web of destruction wherever it hit. The wind force was so strong it hurled heavy killer trucks and cars off Interstate 70, which crosses central Indiana. It leveled a small Grant city and then hit
Kennard,
Indiana, a farming community of close to 1,000 people. Over half of the town was leveled with heavy damage to the rest. Loaded the school buses, took the children to the basement of the school. The twister continued on its path of destruction across Indiana, then to Ohio, destroying homes, schools, businesses, and, worst of all, inflicting death and injury as it went. Bob Dunphy in Indianapolis.
Okay, so I'm going to change the screen again so that way you guys can see the comments while I'm doing this.
Right. Holly says, came in late November. That's the end of hurricane season. Better for you in January or February. They're the coldest.
Next up is Freetown, Indiana. This is the only image I was able to find from this tornado, the aftermath.
Is that a house or a plane?
Mobile home.
A mobile home? Oh, Jesus Christ.
And that's the guy that's standing there. That's the owner of his mobile home.
Oh, God. Can I just ask a question, right?
Yeah.
So, do people in a mobile home, right, say that they get shelter a good far away distance and their mobile home gets destroyed? Does that have the same insurance as what a house does?
I don't know. Joe, you think you'd be able to answer that one?
No, they're treated differently.
Okay.
It's actually harder to get insurance on a mobile home nowadays, unless you're renting it. You know, you can get renter's insurance, but to try it's more expensive for a lot of stuff when you own a mobile home, and insurance is one of them.
Okay.
You know, between this and owning a normal home, the insurance there's probably about $50 to $100 difference in your monthly premiums.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
You know, it costs us more to insure a mobile home because, you know, good sized storm, like I said, it doesn't take a tornado, just a good sized destructive with high winds could destroy this place.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. You know.
Yeah.
But here, if I wanted like a plumber or something like that, it costs, twice as much to have them come out here than it is for a real house, because they have to crawl under the trailer to get to the pipes, and in a normal house, they can just walk down to the basement.
Right.
Big differences, and just those differences cost me more money.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I think that's pretty shit. Like
Really
it costs
is.
more and like a mobile home than it does an actual house, and I think that's shocking.
And it shouldn't, because it's like cheaper for some of us that are on fixed incomes to live in a house that we own that's easy to maintain. But yet you want us to pay this much more in insurance, this much more for when we, it's really, in the long run, it's not worth it. I've been hoping this place get hit that way so I could have the insurance and go buy a house.
Right.
I'm going to let my dream house slide. I found it today. My dream house.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Oh wow! Where's your dream house, Joe?
It'd be in Fort Atkinson. I found it in Fort Atkinson, but it's got the perfect amount of space and
amazing.
Beautiful fenced-in backyard for my puppy. Janesville. Does that say Jane? Oh,
no,
Jonesville.
No, I was about to say it's Jonesville. This is once again in Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah.
Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana.
Wow. Look at that.
I love the pictures because of the old cars.
Yeah.
Mostly. Not so much the destruction, because it's sad to see such destruction, because those people got to rebuild.
Yeah. Next up I got is Kennard. This one's probably my favorite, the one that says Kennard, the sign with it. And then the entire, obviously, town of Kennard is gone.
But the sign's still standing. But
Wait,
yet
who's
the,
there?
Jim.
Jim. Hey, good to see you, Jim.
Hey.
So this next collection of photos I got, this won't last as long as Brandenburg did.
the sign's
So,
still standing, but town's totally destroyed. Holy shit, look at that school bus.
Yeah, another school bus picture. This was an F4 tornado. And what's funny is that, because Jeremy mentioned about this on about 2 weeks ago, this is where Jeremy's originally from, Kennard.
Kenner?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was
wow,
in
is
Kennard,
it?
like when he was younger. Yeah, he obviously wasn't alive, of course, during the '74 outbreak, but yeah, he was originally from Kennard before he moved
Sure
to
he
the
was.
Fort Wayne, New
Jeremy's
Haven
old.
area.
Jeremy's old, ain't he?
He was born in the early '80s.
Oh. So he's young like you.
Jeremy says, Jeremy. See, because you said Jeremy, I said Jeremy. Jim says, so sad. Holly says, I've
Yeah, it
stayed
really-
in my RV through a couple, but just had high winds. Thank you for
I
the
really feel
presentation.
old.
Thank you for the presentation, Mike. It's awesome. It's Nick.
It's Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to call you Mike.
Here, check,
Okay, Mike.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mike.
Oh, she actually
check
wrote
out this picture.
Mike.
Check out this picture here where it says Kennard School, where children escape death and injury by being taken to southeast corner of basement, which was another old-time fashioned rule, which is they say you had to go to the southeast corner of a basement, which at times was the right thing to do, but for other basements, it wasn't always the case. It was actually still kind of a dangerous area, especially if there was a window nearby. But this was one of the few cases where the southeast corner of the basement worked.
And where did that come up with? It had to be the southeast corner of the basement. Because I remember that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really remember exactly where that came from.
I mean, was that like saying that, oh, it only goes from, you know,
southwest to northeast. That's
Yeah,
why.
so
Southeast
that's-
corner of a basement.
so the tornadoes only travel in that direction, huh?
It's not always the case. They can sometimes.
No, but I
travel-
mean, back then that was the thinking.
Yeah, that's what they thought back in the day. Yeah. Next up, I got Hamburg in Indiana. Look at that
Doesn't look
crushed.
like there's much left of that truck.
Yeah, it was crushed. Incredible. All right,
Oh,
so
wow.
next, Depaw and Daisy Hill. This was where the first F5 tornado of Indiana struck. And these were the only pictures I was able to find, surprisingly. But then again, this tornado passed through a relatively rural area, so it didn't really hit that many structures, but it inflicted F5 damage on the areas that it did hit. Now, next one, this is from my own home state. This is from Decatur, Illinois, which is in the central part of the state. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, Decatur is about 3 hours south of me, and this was probably the furthest north. I mean, the furthest tornado that hit up north in the state of Illinois.
At first, I thought that guy was carrying a case of beer.
No, they were picking up their belongings.
I get that, but it was
Yeah.
like it looked like an old case
Yeah.
of beer, like an old case of beer bottles.
Mhm.
Wow.
Look on the bright side. Priorities first with the beer. Never mind your houses. Go on.
Here it's like telling you the church and the chapel's that way, but The sign's
Gone.
still there, but the church is gone.
Complete. This was F3 damage.
Good
From this
luck
tornado.
finding a place to go to service and
Yeah.
pray. It's gone. But the sign's still here.
Yep.
It's amazing that the signs stay intact. That it does that much damage to the buildings, but yet it doesn't pull or bend some of those signs over and flatten them to the ground.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they've been known to be bent.
Right.
Yeah. And there's two of the newspaper articles I found on the Decatur Herald involving the destruction.
Oh,
So
God.
next up, this one's interesting. This is in Anchor, Illinois. This was another F3 tornado, and this was the only picture I was able to find. This picture, you see these spiral ground markings?
Wow.
It
Yeah,
was
it's clear as day.
Yeah, it was determined this tornado had multiple vortices. So which is several
Oh.
smaller tornadoes rotating around the main funnel, which they are said to be far more destructive than the main funnel. And when you have multiple vortices, that will give you these spiral ground markings in the field. Okay, so next, Parker. This is Parker City. And this is the school that these kids took cover when the tornado struck. It struck the Parker City School just 20 minutes after students had been dismissed. But they were able to take cover in time before the tornado hit. So this is back in Indiana. So
Looks like the school pretty much held up, but the roof didn't.
no, it didn't.
Aye. That's pretty much.
Oh,
How,
this is
how is it they used to either in the hall or just under our desks? No basements from here. Water table is too shallow for basements. Twister Sisters.
sorry. This footage here, this is from Hanover and Madison, Indiana. And I had to mute it. Well, you guys wouldn't be able to hear it anyway. But here's actual film footage of the aftermath from Hanover and Madison. I just want to make sure how long this. It just only goes for like about 4 minutes.
It's just amazing that the destruction that those tornadoes can do.
Now, this one that hit. This one that hit Hanover and Madison. This was an F4, I believe. Yeah, it was an F4 on the Fujita scale. Look at that. Concrete slabs and other houses completely gone. And just imagine how the people of these towns had to deal with the aftermath. Just
It'd be
incredible.
horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. Patricia. Oh, I can't pronounce her second name, Nick.
Hey,
Says, hi,
Patricia.
Nick. Why does people have to have difficult second names?
I've had that issue too myself. You know that.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing all these neighborhoods here.
It makes you feel dead sad.
After this is over, are you going to be staying on after we're offline?
I could stay on for a few minutes. Yeah.
I got something really cool to show you.
Sure.
Awesome. I feel that it makes me feel sad because I just can imagine people, because as I've learned as well, tornadoes can miss hit.
Oh,
And I
it
feel sorry
destroys
for-
lives. Takes them.
And I feel sorry for the people whose houses are standstill, and then you can go to next door and it's totally flat. It's so
Yeah.
sad.
See, with tornadoes, they often they follow this rule, if you will, where they will hit one house but leave another one completely untouched.
Yeah. It's just amazing how that happens.
But in this case, for a lot of the tornadoes that struck
Mass
during the
destruction.
I was going to say, for a lot of the tornadoes that struck during the 1974 outbreak, it looked like several blocks were completely
Oh,
wiped out.
smoke from like you know, things that got destroyed that probably got set on fire because of gas lines or something.
Yep.
That
You hear
was
that a
black
lot.
smoke back there.
You hear that a lot. And look at that. It's like you're even seeing other houses, like that one right there. Looks like it's completely fine.
Maybe a few busted windows.
Yep, you're right. It just showed it. Maybe
Yeah.
a few busted windows, but
Hey,
the
my
houses
eyes are pretty good now. My
Yeah.
eyes are much better than they used to be.
the houses across the street, on the other hand, are
What
are
was
just
that at the
destroyed.
top of the tree, I wonder?
Here, wait. Let me see if I can go back. Give me 1 second here.
There was something in the top of that tree. There's a
Was
kid's
it not
bike.
like part of our house?
It looked like it was a piece of debris.
No, way at the top.
Way at the top.
It was
way at
like
the top.
shiny and metal.
Oh, whoops. Hang on. Wait a minute. What's
Sorry,
going on
I
here?
didn't mean to make you rewind, but it was
Hang on a
shiny
second.
and metal-ish.
Damn.
Probably wasn't anything important, but that was.
Oh shoot. Hang on 1 second here. We'll get it back. Bear with me. Okay, now where? Here it is. Okay. So let me do this whole thing again. I'm going to stop the screen for a second and I'm going to reshare it again. Okay, so let's try. Hang on. Something's not.
Uh-oh.
Can't seem to. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. All right. Now we're back to where we were. Let me just get through this.
Parker
Okay.
City.
Okay. I don't know why they put music in this.
That was actually the 80s music.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why they added music to it because I mean this is kind of a rather tragic event.
Yeah,
does-
I would have added like a voiceover saying, you know, like describing the destruction or what had happened, you know,
Yeah.
not having music. One of
Okay.
these days I'm gonna become a better editor. I gotta get working on that too.
But I'll probably put like some sort of
Okay.
supermarket music.
Okay. This is where.
Elevator music.
Yeah. What the hell? Okay. Yeah. Right there. The hell is that? Looks
It's
like a-
metal.
I was gonna say it looks like a piece of metal.
You know what? The way it kind of shines like chrome, I bet it's somebody's bumper off
It
their car.
probably
Got
is.
ripped off the car and bent.
Yeah. There's just only about like 3 minutes left of this footage, so we're almost finished with this one.
Man, no roof. The whole
No.
structure, but the roof's gone.
Yep. Just absolutely incredible. And look at that house with
Wow.
trees right in front.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the tree was uprooted in that person's yard.
Now, here's the thing. I haven't even seen this full footage. So I'm seeing this the first time, and I'm just as shocked as you guys
That
are.
car must have caved into that building like
Yep.
that
Yep.
because of all the stuff it was sitting on top of.
Wow. Holy cow.
I bet that was a forest at one time.
It looks like a forest. All those trees just denuded and knocked over. That looks that looks like a ravine. Jeez.
Yeah, the devastation. I've seen worse in some places.
Yeah. Well, like you said about
My
the
time through some of these storms we've been in, I've seen a lot worse damage. But back in the 70s, that kind of damage, you know, a lot of it, actually, it was more like the lives could have been saved. But the
Yeah.
radar
Uh-huh.
sucked.
well, and when you mentioned about the one that hit Barneville, which was 10 years after this outbreak, that was back in 1984.
Oh my God.
That was an F5. I
That
remember
leveled that town.
And that struck in the middle of the night, like shortly after 1 a.m. I mean, it was, although it was dark outside, it was reported to be about a quarter mile wide.
Yeah, you could. I remember seeing the video. Somebody captured something. They got some video footage or something or pictures. But the only way we're able to see it is when the lightning lit up the sky.
Really? I would not even think that there were any videos, photos, or even any type of images.
Well, there was like a
Bonneville tornado.
There was photos. You got somebody. You get some of them crazy people. They've been around for years. But the worst part about that is it pretty much leveled the town like this.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget there was one that hit the Stoughton area, within the last 20 or 30 years, and it pretty much leveled parts of Stoughton too.
2005. Oh, I think we got.
Oh, it says hubcap. Kate says OSC, Tom, Nelly, OSC. And Kate said, "Whoa, look at that."
You know what?
They're saying maybe that metal thing in the tree was a hubcap.
Okay. Well, the other thing
would
too
make sense because they were made out of chrome or aluminum or whatever, that shiny metal like that.
Well, the other thing too, actually, it should be noted. Yesterday, actually, we were under a tornado watch because we had some. Well, Joe, you and I talked about we had some pretty nasty storms, and they issued a tornado watch for our area up until about 8 o'clock last night.
Actually, the tornado sirens went off in.
Yeah, we had them, but surprisingly, nothing showed up.
They went off in a county south of here. I was talking to somebody, and he said the tornado sirens just went off here, and he lives down towards West Allis in that area, Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
So it was down in that area. It wasn't up here, but man, we were getting some wicked weather last night.
Yeah, well, we did yesterday morning, and that was crazy.
I was surprised I didn't lose the power of the internet.
I'm surprised the power didn't go out for us yesterday when we had the early morning storm. But nonetheless, we were definitely. What's that?
Usually our power, when we get storms like we did last night, usually we lose the power too.
Yeah.
But they didn't even, the lights or nothing never flickered last night. So
yeah, it didn't affect us like that either. We were lucky.
I mean, when the power goes out, that's when I start to worry, because then it's strong enough. If it's strong enough to knock out the power out here, it's bad enough to destroy this house.
Right. Jeez, that is just unbelievable destruction.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's the end of the footage. Okay, so
I can. There's a nest in the window.
There is?
There's a nest in the window across from me. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I finally took the plastic off the windows and opened them up. And there's a bird nest right outside. And it's already got hatchlings in it because they're going back and forth. I'm watching them. They're going back and forth, feeding the babies.
Oh, nice. Look at this right here with this house.
Yeah,
the walls are still standing.
Completely gone.
Door's still standing, and look, and I can only imagine this. See,
but the wall's not. That wall's completely gone right there, but the door's wide open.
Yep.
That's the picture I find hilarious. The door's at a standstill.
It could do.
Watch when you go to close it, though, it'll drop to the floor.
Well, that's what I said. Tornadoes can make the strangest behavior. Now, I want to point out this picture right here with this big board that's fallen out. I got to say, whoever lived in this house, hopefully I'm assuming either they weren't home or hopefully they took cover, because just imagine if somebody was in this room and this board fell on top of them. That would have been almost certain death. That would have been certain death. That would have been terrible.
It would have been hurt.
Yeah. At least severely.
Man. It's just amazing the destruction that they can do.
Yeah. And look at that. Some other buildings in the back are still standing, but again, you see other ones that are just
Well,
torn apart.
I'm sorry, but maybe it's I'll take a line from an old movie that I like in a way, and kind of maybe it's Mother's Nature's way of fighting back because we're raping Mother Earth.
You know what? I've actually said something like that. I feel like, and not just Mother Nature, I think it's even the Earth itself. You know, you think of a planet, of all the planets, including Earth, that people think they're these giant balls that were able, you know, in this case, Earth
like
being a giant,
car.
yeah. You know, think of Earth basically being like a giant ball that has all these resources on it. Well, some people fail to realize that the Earth basically is kind of a living organism itself.
Oh yeah,
And as
this
I would
was,
probably, no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
and that line was taken from a movie called Beyond the Law, but it was said by a real Native American.
Go on.
You know, and he was sitting on a hill trying to stop them from doing their bulldozing and their construction with the heavy equipment. So he was sitting
Oh,
up
one
there with
second
a
here.
gun. And he's like, you know, he's like, he was up there because you're raping his Mother Earth, you know. That's what he said. And he was shooting,
Yeah.
shooting at the heavy equipment, like bulldozers and stuff that were there to build what looked like possibly a new development.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
that's what we do. We keep building new developments and leave these old ones abandoned. You know, some of all
Yeah.
these abandoned places, why don't
Mhm.
you just tear them down and rebuild right there instead of tearing down woods?
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
really. Well,
See,
and
that's
as I
the,
would,
that's the problem.
more
Sorry.
strip malls that'll go abandoned. You know,
well, whoa, look at this one right here. Holy cow.
wow.
Oh God.
What is that?
I
Upside
don't
down
know,
on
but it
wheels.
looks like it's part of a building of some sort, like in the middle, and there's like I don't know if that's a bus or what.
I think it might be a trailer of some sort, like a horse moving trailer.
Yeah.
No farm,
Yeah.
horses, cows.
And here's the thing too I wanted to say about, like, you know, when it comes to, like, let's say the Earth being a living being, you know, all of what's happening now. I've actually been saying, I'm not trying to sound like I'm this, you know, person worshiping a god of some sort, but honestly, it's kind of the truth, is that with everything we've done to this planet and all these weather disasters that have been following, I've actually been starting to believe that perhaps this is the Earth's way of punishing us for what we've done to it and its environment.
Mhm.
It's fighting
I
back.
would- I would-
You know, recycling's a good thing, but you should take that, like I said, a step further, you know, and recycle your buildings.
Right.
You know, like a strip mall goes abandoned, you can't rent it out. Don't let it sit there and go to rebels, you know,
Right.
and die. Recycle it and use it for something else. You know,
Wow.
turn it into
Yeah.
low income housing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, turn it into a shelter or something,
Exactly. Wow. Look at this.
you know, but we keep
That's beautiful.
digging, we keep mining, and we keep mining on this planet, and we keep digging on this planet, we keep cutting down the woods. You know, I don't know if you've seen the news for this area, but there's a black bear running around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's running around in very populated areas.
Jeez.
Why? Because we're destroying their environment where they live.
Yep. Look at that. Oh, look at this car that's kind of beaten up here in this picture.
Too
I know
bad.
it's a. I was
That's-
actually. Is that a Mustang?
No, but it's a sad day for cars. It really
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Because back
Mm.
then in the 70s, there were so many beautiful classic cars and they were built to last.
Look at this one.
Oh shit!
Holy-
What is
this
that
is-
one?
This is crushed by some giant pipe.
Holy
Holy!
cow.
Oh, my
See?
God. Wow.
Something, yeah.
That's
It
strong
flattened
wind.
that. That was flat as a pancake in the center there.
This looks like
No,
a
that's a
boating area.
Cadillac.
Yeah. This looks like a boating area. That parts of the roof looks like this is just ready to collapse on
Boat
top
storage.
of these boats. Yeah, boat storage. I think I only got a few slides left for Madison and Hanover. Yeah, there's a lot of them too. Still, but surprisingly, as many as I've shown, it's not still as many as what I showed with Brandenburg.
Actually, I've really, really enjoyed this slideshow, and I've really enjoyed the pictures.
Oh, there's more pictures. That's why I'm going a little bit faster now, so we can try to speed it, not necessarily speed it up, but try to get
To the
get
end.
to the end. Yeah.
Do
Wow,
you know
look
what? I can imagine after you finish this show tonight, I'm gone, Joe's gone. I can imagine you sitting in your wee basement after you've switched the computer off and going, thank fuck for that.
I'm actually not in the basement this time. I'm actually in my main office this time doing this. Wow, look at that.
Jeez. Holly says the worst is no AC when the power goes out, lol. She also said the theory of Gala, I believe in it too.
Unbelievable.
It is.
Jeez. Okay, yeah, I think we're. Oh yeah, okay. So this is, I believe, the last slides. Slide. Oh wait, I guess I accidentally again. I added another picture again from one of the previous ones, but I believe this is the last Madison pictures. Okay, so next up. Oh wait, okay. So maybe okay.
Where the
This is
hell
in
is-
Lester.
Did you see that though? Hold on. Go back one. Can you go
Wait.
back one? Or is that too
Yeah.
hard?
No, I got it.
Look at
Which one are we looking at?
the one with the guy in the picture of the guy.
Yeah.
The size of the hail in his,
hailstone.
the hailstone in his one hand is as big as his hand. It covers up his entire palm of his hand. That's huge.
Baseball
God.
size.
That's like a
Yeah,
baseball or tennis ball or maybe a little bigger.
Yeah, like baseball, softball size hail, and that's something you definitely would not want to be in, because I mean you can get killed by that. That would deliver a
That'll
serious
definitely
concussion. Especially,
knock you out.
yeah, I mean it can give you a serious concussion, especially if it's being, especially if it's especially if it's going like at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, you'll be waking up like, where am I? Who am I?
Yeah, be like the classic example of amnesia.
How did I
That
get
will
here?
definitely knock you out.
Holy
Do you
cow.
know, guys,
Wow.
can I just share a wee fact with yous? It's now after midnight midnight in Scotland, and it's my boy's birthday today.
Oh, really?
Aye. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, looking at the time.
You're old. You have a 15-year-old.
Sorry about that, guys. It's my sister
I just
Chip
feel
and
like a fucking light.
Chloe. Sorry.
Just,
Have no
oh, you're
filter.
good.
Oh, for God's sake. But your pictures have been
they're-
good. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, this really goes to show how much work I really put into this. So this was
Yeah, you
not
put in
easy.
a
putting
lot of
together.
work. Man, it's an
Oh,
amazing
oh.
presentation.
I mean, honestly, Joe, see for like the first part to now, I know how much it's been stressing Nick right out, and it's just, do you know what? You deserve that holiday.
I mean, I got my work's worth out of this, definitely.
Well, I wish I had your talent, patience, and perseverance to put stuff like this together. I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's definitely not
Well,
easy work.
Editing videos and making these presentations is a lot of time consuming, pain in the ass, trial and error work.
Yep.
And man, I give you props. Lots of props
Thanks.
for that one.
Appreciate it.
Man,
Okay, so
my videos don't even look this good that are on our YouTube channel for our investigations.
wow.
I'm just don't have the patience. I want it
No,
done.
I
I
understand.
want it done quickly.
Yeah, that's why I always admire Nick and when he does obviously these slides, because it's just it's like, how do you find time in your life when you do so many podcasts, you do so many books, you work a full-time job and you go to
Well,
like
it's
different
part-time.
theory, well, part-time, and then you've obviously got, your own outside life when you're going out with Dawn, Kate, whatever. And it's just like, how do you find time to put all this stuff together? It's like, Nick, I would love you to be my personal assistant. I would hire you.
I just have to plan it ahead of time. That's just the simplest way I could do it.
Oh, wowie.
So we're done with Hanover and Madison. Here is Fairview in Indiana. And these were the only images, once again, I was able to find for this one. Obviously, newspaper articles. Louisville. Let's just see how long this is. Okay, it's only 3 minutes. Music too. So this is the downtown area of Louisville.
Kentucky?
Kentucky, yeah. Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, it hit the down, like I said, it hit the downtown area.
Oh, there's another Vista Cruiser.
Is this good sound? Or is it?
That actually looked like that looked more like the Vista Cruiser there than the other pictures. That one was actually the right color.
No, Lois, there's no sound this time. They set it to music, but I muted it. So it's another 6. And as a reminder, this was the tornado in which that helicopter traffic reporter Dick Gilbert was following.
Remember that.
And,
I can remember that.
Yeah, he was a true hero. Because only 3 people died from this tornado, and which I never even got to add this because Lois, I'm sure you were probably wondering this because I know I think some others were asking if he was still alive today. Unfortunately, Dick Gilbert is no longer with us. He died 25 years ago, back in 1999.
Oh, that's a sin.
But yeah, but like what Ernie said, he's a legend down in that part of Kentucky.
Because he basically saved lives that day.
Yeah, he did. It was one of the few times that during the outbreak that people actually had warning and they were able to take cover because they were either listening on the radio or they were watching television. And fortunately, they were fortunate also that this F4 tornado hit at the time it did, because when it hit around 4:37, it was also hitting at a time when a lot of people, both kids and adults, were not at school or at work. They were either coming home from school or work or were already home, including their parents too. So additionally with that too, it could have certainly been a lot more worse than it was.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow, look at this house right here. This one's like, you can see it's damaged, but it's still standing once again. And this is from an F4 tornado.
Oh, God. It just shows
windows
you.
Blown out. The windows were blown out. And then just across the street, there's parts of the I think that's northeast Louisville. And I know the picture quality is not the best, but you could definitely see a lot of
1970 something.
Yeah, so you get 74. So you can see a lot of trees.
It's not that good.
Yeah, you can only do so much when it came to filming back in those days.
Now everybody's got a phone, high quality phone that's got a nice quality video camera on it that they can videotape these things on the fly.
And of course, also additionally, it's also got sound capability. Of course, you also had sound capability, so they didn't have that with these cameras back then. Or if they did, they would have been expensive as hell to purchase.
Uh-huh. And the things that you can do with today's cameras, like I think it's the Google Pixel.
Yeah.
if like me, you, Joe had a photo and
Yep.
me and Nick fell out like a month down the line, I could easily take Nick out the photo and it looks like it doesn't exist. It's just me and Joe.
Look at these pictures here of Louisville.
Talk
The
about
car
literally
wrapped-
a car being wrapped around a tree.
and here's teacher
Oh.
sitting. This is an actual teacher sitting at his former library. And now what I'm about to show, I believe it's on this slide, or it's probably going to be the next one. Yeah, I think it's the next one. I'll explain afterwards. But man, another neighborhood just leveled. And now these next pictures. Okay, yes. Okay, so just before I show this, these first few pictures I'm about to show, in my opinion, were probably some of the most heartbreaking pictures that I found from the outbreak of a family that completely lost their home and completely in disbelief. These 3 photos here about this little girl
That's
there.
heartbreaking.
It's obviously shown to see that they lost their home. It's gone. And here, look at this. This is typical of tornadoes. When they strike, especially certain areas where there's big clocks, a lot of clocks will stop at the time the tornado struck because obviously power and whatnot. But yeah, tornado time, April 3rd, 1974.
Stephen's birthday, April 3rd.
But yeah, these are just absolutely heartbreaking photos, though, nonetheless.
Yeah, it really, really is. I can't begin to imagine losing your house. And it's not just that. If you think about it, many of these people have probably lived in the house for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And to have it flattened like a pancake with everything that you have and you own, that
Yeah,
would break
you
me.
lose everything. It's full of memories. And of course, obviously, if you were a kid, that was where you spent part of your upbringing. Look at this here with this picture here. I think this is a cemetery. And look at all the trees just put onto these graves. And then here's
Do you know
another.
if it? Oh, sorry, Nick.
And then I was going to say, yeah, no, you're good. And then check this out. A guy sitting at his former house.
It's so sad.
It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. What were you going to say, Lois?
I was going to say, it's when I see that picture of the graveyard, it makes me sad too, because there's a church that's no far from me. It's actually just a 2-minute walk, and you see some of the gravestones actually covered with grass, actually up, and all you can see is like the top of it. It's just it's so sad.
Exposure to the elements. Look at this. I just noticed something with this picture. Look, check this out. I don't know if you guys can see it as clear as I can. All these trees not only have been knocked down, but look at the one right in the middle. The one in the middle is still standing. All the other ones have been flattened except for this one.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
It's just like houses.
Yep, just like houses. So the same works with trees. Oh, that's another sad one right there. An officer patting a kid's head, knowing that he lost his house.
Oh, bless.
Oh, next up, Monticello. I think this might be. We'll watch this part of this. We won't watch the whole thing because it's a little long. So this is back in Monticello, Indiana again. Looks like okay, there actually is somebody speaking, but I'm not sure if you guys would be able to hear it because it kind of creates an echo from other viewers' sides. So I'd only be able to hear it clearly. A U-Haul. Jeez, I didn't even know U-Haul existed back then.
Oh, they've been around a long time.
Yeah. Nick, there's no sound. Oh, aye, because that's what you're just saying. Close the echo.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's why I muted it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter though, because again, this is 8mm, 16mm film.
Yeah. Where did you find all this stuff? That's what I'm memorised with. Like, where did you find all this stuff? I take it was from the National Archive.
I got some of it from the archives, but a good majority of it, surprisingly, was from YouTube.
Oh wow.
And also, I got a lot of pictures of Monticello as well. However, there were probably more damaged pictures of Monticello than any of the other tornadoes combined. I mean, what I've shown you guys so far are a lot of them, but Monticello has so many of them that I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to add every single one. That would have taken me hours, if not days, for me to add everything. It literally would have taken me forever. So
I bet you're glad that you didn't cover all 148 tornadoes.
yeah, I'm glad. Oh my God, we would have had like 10 parts out of this thing.
So that's me lost my job after tonight.
Look at that. I wonder why this guy is bent over. What is he? Is he like in disbelief or what?
And maybe be inconsolable.
It might have been. I can't say for sure. But yeah, Monticello was just torn again, just ripped apart.
That was the one with the F5, the first F5.
No, this was the one that hit it developed near Purdue University. And
yeah, I can remember that. The thing with yeah.
Well, and most importantly, this was the one that had that notorious story of where it threw that minibus over the Tippecanoe River and only one person survived out of that one.
Yeah.
And this was also, I'm sorry, this was also the tornado that was said to have the longest path of the outbreak. They said supposedly this one traveled 121 miles across the state of Indiana.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it just looked like the damage was just going and going and going. It's just amazing. So, like what you're seeing, what you see right now, put it this way, because of its extremely long path that it took, you're only seeing a very tiny portion of the destruction that this tornado caused.
Oh, God. Nick, I may need to go in about 5-10 minutes because you're going to laugh. The tablet is due an update.
Oh.
So I thought we were only going to be about a couple of hours, and I've set it either for 20 to 1 or 1 o'clock at the latest. So just in case I vanish it and you wonder what the hell's happened, it's because my tablet's ready to do an update.
I was going to say, actually, I was going to wrap this up in just a few minutes anyway. So I really thought this was going to be the wrapping up point, but I guess we might have to do one more extra part. But like I said, the majority of what the good part about this slideshow, and again, this is what I love. The good part about this slideshow, and this is what I love so much about it, was in this part of the slideshow, I don't have to speak as much because, again, I'm just showing these pictures and videos to you guys. So,
yeah. So does that mean I've got my job for next week then?
Yeah, but it's not going to be very. Again, it's actually making it easier for myself because, like I said, I don't have to speak as much now. So, because now we're at the most interesting part. So we'll get through Monticello, and then after that, we'll probably we'll end. Then we might if the next tornado damage is short, we'll probably end it afterwards. So. But here are the pictures now from Monticello. Oh, this is a church right here that was completely leveled. You got the Monticello courthouse here again, still standing, but the roof completely destroyed.
See, that's just what I'm quite memorised by as well. It's not the fact that tornadoes can damage houses, but the fact that when it damages buildings, some buildings actually manage to stay still. And most of the time, it's just minor damage. It's just, as what we've always discussed, is tornadoes are very, very unpredictable.
Yep. Look at that. Looks like there's smoke that's coming out from this area. Looks like there's smoke coming out from a few areas, like some of the destroyed areas are on fire or something.
it kind of reminds me when I see that smoke view. That kind of reminds me when we had foot and mouth, and they had to
that
kill all the
must have been
cows.
Mustang.
Oh, really?
It was really bad.
Jeez. Look at that. Another car, not wrapped around the tree this
That
time,
one
but kind
looks
of
more
laying on
like
the
a
side.
Mustang.
Yeah, another
Oh, so
Mustang, I
that's the
believe.
Mustang, aye.
Yeah, I'm not a car person, but I'm almost certain that's an old Mustang.
Look at this tree here that was uprooted from the roots.
Do you know what? I feel sorry for the poor buggers that have bought cars the day
Holy
before
cow.
the tornado. Oh,
Whoa!
I hope they weren't in that car.
I hope not. That tree trunk has gone right into the interior of the car.
Smashed the interior car, flattened the roof.
Oh my God.
who's got the Tweety Pie?
Not
That's
me.
birds outside my window.
Oh, is it? I thought you had the wee bird. I was like, oh, the wee Tweety Pie. I just love
No.
animals.
I have this like overhang over the window. It's like an old trailer, like I said. So it's a metal overhang over the window to keep the rain out when it rains, when we got the windows open. And
Whoa.
the birds decide to build nests every year inside.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So if I got the windows open, that's all I hear is the birds.
Look at this cemetery picture right here. Crane picking up debris in this part of the cemetery.
Yeah, it looks really. Oh, Holly's got to go, but she said it was awesome.
Well, I appreciate that, Holly. Thanks for tuning
Bye,
in.
Holly.
Take care. Look at that. More houses that were still standing, but roof's gone. And then this right here looks like a trailer of some sort knocked into this house. Jeez.
I'm memorized by the photos. I really, really am.
This is, oh, look at that one. People grieving again of the loss of their homes. This, with my slideshow that I put together with this one, this really goes, especially these damage pictures, demonstrates the full power of what tornadoes can really do. And look at this. This should have been considered F5 damage right here. This obviously used to be a former house, and there's nothing left. It's completely clean. Complete concrete slab foundation. That's quite the destruction.
Yeah, you come home and you find that your house is 20 miles down the road now. You've just been relocated.
Yep, literally.
Oh, okay.
Look at these look at these electrical transmission towers, like crossed onto each other.
Well, look at the many people that have found their trampolines a million miles away.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really admire you guys.
Whoa, look at that. These poles here bent. That just goes also to show how high the wind speeds really were when it went over it. When it went over those.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I think I got just a few more slides left for Monticello. And the should probably end it after that. Let's see. More electrical transmission towers over here. Another car completely. Is that, is this another Mustang, Joe, or is it a Cadillac?
Where are we?
Here on the bottom left.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know exactly what that car is, but I can tell you it's not a Mustang and it's not a Cadillac.
Okay. Okay, the photos are starting to get a little bit bigger, which usually means that I'm getting closer to the end of these pictures. Oh, yep, there's the courthouse again. And then over here, look at all this debris that just falls right on, almost like everything's falling onto each other. I don't know if that's a vehicle or what in the center in
It
this
looks
photograph.
like a car or truck.
Yeah.
Got another one got crushed and victimized by trees.
Yep. Okay, yeah, this is going to be the last one. Yeah. Okay, so this is Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, yeah, this guy here looks like he took a beating.
Ouch.
Yikes. Yeah, in Davidson County.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, Sailor Park. Okay, see, this is what I was talking about. I said if the next one was going to be short, we would end it there. And not necessarily I'm going to play it. I just want to see how long it is. Okay, it's going to be a couple good minutes. So we're going to have to make this again one final part. But let me check right now on the slide just to see how much we got left as far as pictures go.
Nick, are you sure you don't want to cover the 148 tornadoes?
I'm good.
Poor boy.
So from what we got left, we only got about, well, it's really about 30 slides left of pictures, but I saved Xenia as the biggest, well, not the biggest one, but kind of for last. So once again,
Nick,
if we're going to,
I've got a suggestion for you. Right, give me 2 minutes to run and check something, and then I'll come back to you, right? Give me 2 secs.
okay. Yeah, but it's just mainly going to be pictures. So again, I think by the time we do this again, like literally the final time for sure next week, this we'll definitely have this wrapped up because we're definitely more than halfway through.
Well, I got a proposition for you after this is over.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for Lois now, but I really got to end it because I think there might be another show. So hopefully she comes back real soon.
Dude, yeah, we've been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, honestly, I was expecting it was going to go kind of this long, so I'm just waiting for Lois. You back yet?
I'm just coming, lad. Just coming.
Oh, okay. No, it's just that. No, it's just that we do have to end it though because I didn't even realize what time
I'll tell you what. I'll talk to you after. It's fine.
Okay, you sure?
Yep, all good.
Okay. All right. So I thought originally this was going to be the last part, but again, we got just literally almost like a fragment of it left.
And he's froze.
Oh, okay. Damn it. It had to happen as I was freezing. Okay. So I was saying we got just literally a fragment left. So we're going to make a part 5 crazily as I thought it was going to be. I mean, as I wasn't expecting it was going to happen, but we'll make it truly.
He's froze again. So, assuming, guys, that next week will be the final part. He's froze. I don't know if he's froze for good, but translation for Nick is right. And okay. There he is.
Okay, yeah. So, all right, yeah. Bottom line is, we'll come back. We'll be back with part 5 next week. I got to end this because of another show, and also because I'm freezing up. So, you guys have a great night.
Bye,
and, we'll see some of you guys tomorrow for To the Grave and Back. But if you want to wait till next for part 5, we'll see you guys next week. You guys have a great night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.